Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Why Real Estate, where we highlight local businesses as well as give you the insights on real estate and how it can benefit you financially with your investment portfolio. And today we have a special guest with us, David Hodges, an agent with Edge Homes. David and I have done several transactions together. Really like the way he does business and the team that's behind him and the product that Edge has to offer. One of my favorite memories of Dave, which still blows my mind when I think about it, is he's quite the athlete. He does triathlons and mountain biking. And one time we were mountain biking around the face of a Timpanogos, a mountain in Utah County, and coming down, and it was cold that morning, and so I didn't have a spot to put a really light jacket, and it got caught in my brake on the back tire. Took out the brake, didn't even work at all, and the entire rest of the way was downhill. Steep. I mean, I can't even tell you how steep some of these parts were as we were going across rocks. And he basically said, "Here, let me take your bike." He rode that whole thing down and kept up with us. As a matter of fact, he was pushing me and another friend that was with us all the way down the mountain, and I was going as fast as I was comfortable on his bike. But anyways,
Who needs brakes?
Yeah, exactly. I'm excited to have him here. He's got a wealth of knowledge on the home building process, on all you need to know. It's something, Dave, that we're seeing more and more is people, because of interest rates, turning to new builds, because largely builders have, the economies of scale to be able to offer all kinds of incentives to help people buy down the interest rates so that that initial shock of that monthly payment isn't something that just knocks them right out of the market. So what are you seeing in regards to that?
Kind of what you just said, because there's not as many homes going out on the market from the resale standpoint, based a lot because of interest rates, what they have been locked into at a 3% or lower interest rate. You're not getting a lot of people that are wanting to leave those interest rates to go buy a new home because their payment's going to be just so much higher for the exact same home that they're just leaving. So a lot of people are migrating towards new construction. Edge, as an example, we're able to go in and buy large tracts of land, develop it, and then, as you said, have economies of scale. We can then put out many, many homes, whether they're condos, townhomes, single family homes. But because we're doing the entire process from buying the land to entitling it, to subdividing it, to then building the homes, there is some factors of economies of scale to where we can then offer different incentives to the buyers to help offset that payment.
What's an example of an incentive that you guys are doing right now?
Yeah. So one incentive that we've been doing is 3%. So the buyer, when they come in, they contract on a single family home, and let's say that's, $700,000. We're giving 3% of that purchase price back to the buyer as a seller concession. They can then take that to buy down their interest rate, something called a 2-1 buy down. They can use it towards closing costs. They can just drop their purchase price. So that's one example. Another example is we just went out and purchased a bunch of bulk rate loans. So loans at a 5.99% interest rate. Obviously, that's been such a huge obstacle for buyers getting in the market, is they just can't afford the payment with a 7%, 8% interest rate. So we went out, bought 5.99% interest rate, and then offering that to the clients, to buyers that are coming in to help them with that payment. But then as of last week, we just designated like 23 different homes that we're allowing buyers to stack those two incentives. So not only can they get the 3%, they can also get the 5.99% interest rate. So by having both of those,
wow,
that just completely eliminates the barrier to entry for buying a home. And then when you add on top of that the low earnest money, like the low deposits to get into a home that Edge allows, you just can't beat that. For a townhome, you're $2,500 to get into a home. And that could be anywhere from closing in a month to closing in 6 months. But you locked up that home for that long for only $2,500.
Phenomenal. I have several clients right now that are under contract on homes with Dave and Edge. And I can tell you, me and my team being on that side of it in the resale market, when an individual family owner, and this isn't by any fault of their own, they sometimes can't give that kind of an incentive. Mm-hmm. Okay, even with what the market's done with the growth, the appreciation recently, well, that also means if they're selling, especially within Utah, that they've got to have all the funds possible to be able to afford the next house.
Yeah.
So I personally really love working with Edge. And I think it's worthy to talk about, besides those incentives if you're looking for a new home. One thing that I really appreciate with Edge is they are incredibly agent friendly. Okay, not all builders are that way, and I've experienced it with several others, but they're ones that accept and recognize the importance of you as the consumer having your own representation. So what is the philosophy of Edge behind particularly someone being represented?
Yeah. So I mean, the outside agent community is what has built Edge. We rely heavily on you guys because you guys are in the trenches, you're on the front line, you're talking with the clients. We understand that you're the ones that bring clients to us. We understand that they need to be represented. They need that help navigating that process. We try to do the best that we can in the systems that we put into place to help a buyer when they first go under contract, all the way through the loan process, to the design process, to the build process. We try and really walk them through. But in addition to that, most of these people, or a lot of these people, this is the first home they've built. So they have a lot of extra questions that you guys are really literally hand-holding them through those questions and those processes. So we just realize the importance that you guys bring.
I think the signal that it sends, not to agents that we're valued, but to potential buyers, that Edge is confident in the product that you have. There's nothing to hide. You're not trying to not give someone representation. It's actually really refreshing that you guys stand behind that. In regards to purchasing a new home, I think it's important that people understand the potential pitfalls, and I can't think of someone that would be able to explain that better. What are some things that someone should look out for in the home building process?
Yeah, for sure. So I mean, a lot of times when you hear of stories of people buying new construction, you hear some nightmares of either the builder wasn't responsive, intense delays, overages in prices, just so many different things. So I would really look into past clients' experiences to understand what you as a future buyer is going to experience with that builder. So with Edge, I mean, we've helped countless people get into new homes, from first-time homes to second homes, vacation homes, investors. We've just helped a lot of it, the whole gambit. And so I think we have a really good track record of what is to be expected when someone comes in and buys a home from us. From explaining the contract, to explaining the financial process of getting a loan, to really just putting in the system and having them talk with our superintendents every Friday and get updates on the construction of their home. And then just updating them at the very end. Hey, your home's gonna be finished in 30 days. Let's get you all wrapped up with your loan. This is what to expect when you walk through the home. And then this is what the warranty is gonna be like. We're gonna be here after you close on the home. So if something does go wrong, we're there to stand behind it. These homes are built by people and things do go wrong. There's no doubt about it. Like, it just happens, right? But we wanna be there when those do to take care of them. And I think that's one of the biggest pitfalls, is knowing and finding out if that builder is gonna stand behind you. Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest pitfall, I would think.
So, I mean, I actually own a couple of rental units that I built with Edge. A lot of their communities, some are, some aren't inside of HOAs. For me personally, I like that because it's less maintenance as a property owner to be able to take care of that. They come with great amenities, a clubhouse, a pool, fitness center, pickleball courts, just a great environment and community, that's built. What else would you say are highlights of the homes that you guys build and the communities that they're in?
Before I touch on that, you made me think of something else. So with regards to HOAs, most new construction communities are in an HOA. I don't think I've been around any recently that aren't within an HOA. But another pitfall to look at is, this is kind of diving into the weeds a little bit, but understanding how the HOA is funded. There's a lot of HOAs that are not funded enough, that when you move into the HOA, when the builder passes the community to the homeowners, there's not enough money in the account to take care of the road, to take care of the sidewalks, to take care of the pool when it needs to be resurfaced. Just all the things that happen within a new community that you need money to take care of. And so making sure that HOA, although no one wants to spend money on the HOA, no one wants to get set up in the HOA, that's almost like a taboo topic, it really does protect your investment long term. So just understanding how that HOA is set up will greatly benefit you in the future as far as protecting that investment. But as far as our communities, We try and make sure that we're in A-plus locations. We want to be where there's a lot of growth. So whether that's Harriman or Lehigh or Saratoga Springs, we're around the tech industry where that's just booming. We're around commercial that's coming up. And we purposely do that because that's where you get a lot of value. When these people are buying in, this is a huge chunk of their wealth. This is their first home. This is a massive chunk, at least a springboard into their wealth. And so providing something that will take care of them long term and that hopefully will give them appreciation on that asset, that's what we're trying to do for our clients. So looking into places that have high upside, whether that's buying in phase one of a project or that's just in a high growth area, like I said, in Lehigh next to the Primary Children's Hospital. I mean, so much value is going to be coming into that location as more and more commercial and more medical facilities are built in that location. So, we try and do fun things for creating memories of families, pickleball courts, pools, clubhouses. We want to be that area where a family can come in and really just enjoy where they live. And so that's kind of important for us.
This is very good information. I think it's really important that our listeners pay attention and pick the right company. Now, Edge isn't the end all of everything, right? It fits, I think, a large demographic profile, especially for a first-time home buyer. If you need to do an FHA loan, if you need to do, in some areas, they do have USDA loans and have been in those areas, with no money down loans, VA loans, all kinds of programs you can take advantage of with Edge. Dave, would you do kind of an overview on the timeline of when you've decided to buy a home, go through the due diligence, finance and appraisal, to the point where its C of O is given, certificate of occupancy, right?
Yeah.
Can you give us an overview of that on kind of that timeline?
For sure. So that's going to kind of depend on each home. As far as Edge goes, we have a couple of different pathways to home ownership. One might be a spec home or a quick move-in. It's basically a home that Edge has decided to start building without having a buyer in mind. So we pick the options, we pick the colors, we pick the floor plan, and we start building it. Then we put it out to the market as an available home to buy. A buyer that comes in and buys one of those, it could be anywhere from being completed right now to being finished in 4 or 5 months. That will help the buyer to get into that home sooner, lock in the interest rates a little bit sooner so they understand what that interest rate is going to be. And maybe they just need something sooner. Maybe they have a baby on the way, or they're living with parents and they need to get out of that house, or whatever case may be. The other pathway is basically new construction from the ground up. So they'd come in, we'd show them different locations where we're building, show them different floor plans, and then once they've decided on which home fits their needs best and which homes fits their wants best, go under contract. They'll actually go into the design center, they'll meet with one of our designers, and they'll pick specifically to them their colors, their options, things that are really important to them, things that are going to make that home very personalized to them.
I think it's important that people understand you're not going through an entire custom build process.
Correct.
And let me tell you, that is laborsome, that is strenuous on a marriage. The process Dave is talking about here is actually quite simple, and it helps you make certain choices that matter to you when it comes to colors and countertops and cabinets. But it's not the overwhelming,
correct,
custom type place. So I think it's a great mix.
Mm-hmm, for sure. Yeah, so like when you meet with me and we're kind of going over the different floor plans, based on a few questions that I'd ask, we could kind of narrow down which floor plan works for you in probably one visit. When you go to the design center, you're gonna meet with a designer one time for a number of hours. You'll go home, think about those options, you'll get back to the designer, and within a week, you'll have kind of all your options selected. So we have the system pretty dialed in so that it's not, like you said, so it's not overwhelming, and it really guides you through the entire process. Our designers do an amazing job, whether you wanna give the entire offload it to them and say, hey, just pick something that looks good. I know that you guys are on top of trends. Pick something that looks good. Or if you want to be involved the whole process and you want to drive the bus, it's up to you. But we really have that system dialed in. So once you do that, then we basically start building the home. And so total duration, you're anywhere from probably 7 months to 10 months, depending on condos versus a single family home.
And I think it's important to understand that Edge, because they're a volume builder, they buy the land, they do the development. You do have to qualify to be able to, go under contract. Once you've made an offer and they're before they build on anything for the loan, but you're not actually carrying a loan or making payments. It's a one-time close right at the end.
Correct, yeah.
When you close, and then you would start making payments as if you were buying like a resale home. So you don't have that burden of carrying that debt until you actually get the home in your name. Before we wrap up, Dave, is there anything else that you think is pertinent or important to be able to share with our audience?
Yeah, so I think just knowing, I've mentioned before, knowing the warranty and if that builder is going to be around. I think that a lot of times as we go and look for a home, we always want the nicest home. We want the biggest home. We want that forever home. And I think that if we dial back our expectations on that and know that home ownership is a process and wealth is a process, and start with something small and then work your way up. Maybe you want a townhome, but the payments are a little bit too high. It's okay to start with a condo. It's okay to compromise a little bit in the beginning. And then, like I said, once you have a condo, maybe you live there for a year or two, and then you move up to a townhome. And then you're there for a couple of years and you move up to a single family home. So just understand that it's not an end all be all. Once you buy a home, that's where the journey stops. You could buy multiple homes in your lifetime, and having an agent like Lane kind of help you through the process. The first time is scary, but once you've done it once, it is actually very simple if you have the people behind you in your corner helping to guide you and helping you to accomplish all those tasks with getting a loan, with picking the house, with all those types of things. It's not a scary process. And I'd say just be open to compromise to get into the home that's going to be best for you.
The important thing, and I've said this several times, and I love how Dave hit on that, is when you look at the average net worth of an individual who's a renter in America or the United States, it's between $5,000 and $10,000. Dave is saying get in the game and get with the group of people who are property owners whose net worth averages over $250,000. Now, you don't have to go big. Yeah. Start where you're at and just get in. The sooner you get in, the better. Start your wealth building process. And just want to thank Dave for coming on again, and thanks for saving my life so I didn't have to ride that bike down that mountain that one day. And really good information. This is one that our viewers should watch over and over again. Thanks for tuning in, everybody.